It's been a while since I've been to a locals, since last year, to put it into perspective. I have missed it, honestly. I truly have missed going to locals, and finally I broke the streak and ended up going this weekend. I ended up taking a deck we've been playing on Master Duel, Synchronic. It's Synchron Runic. It's basically Stardust Bestial, but with the Runic card. It's the way I approached it. It just seems like fundamentally the objective, similar objective, where you bridge your Stardust into your Bestials and set up your Branded Beast and Regain while getting your Omnis up. So that's the way I approached it, but it was a lot of fun. I played against a lot of Rogue. So there was 500 Swiss and then top 8 cut. So round 1, I played against Blackwing Centurion. That deck was wild. Josh, he's an insane Blackwing fan. It almost basically as much as me being a fan of the Yusei card. Just, oh, it's insane. And dude, his end board was wild. It was like Chaos Angel to Spatters, Calamity setup, Draco Berserker, Hot Red, with the Blackwing that pops and the Twin Shadow. I was like, what the hell? And seeing as I wasn't playing any hand traps, I was like, well, that's gonna resolve, so I have to find a way to crack the board. And it was a weird, because like he can play around droplets and negating me stopping or popping the Calamity guy. So the Crimson was a bit difficult to get around. And then in round 2, I put against Adventure PK Horus. That was my only loss in Swiss. I freaking, oh my god, I bricked in game 3, going first. I was like, no way. And then round 3, you can Sword Soul. Round 4 was a Melodious Chimera. It was a wall. This basically that locked you out with the new Diabolus card. The one that you can't get the set cards before you can use them. I was like, okay, well. And then, but fortunately, game 3, he ends up doing something incorrectly. And I was like, okay, oh, like, do you, bro? And then I just said, we went first, we full combo. What can we do? But I ended up taking that one again. So, unfortunate scenario. Sorry, Josh. And then in top 4, I'll go up against Tenpai and against Campbell. Oh my goodness. So, game 1, I forgot what happened in game 1, but all I know is game 2, I go first. I get shifted, but I open up the cards required to end on my board, but he has Nibiru Imprim as well. So then he Nib Imprims me. So I end up, so I'm like, oh, everything is banished. So I have Face Up, Arriving Light and Field, and I have a set Flashing, and then tries to combo off, and he ends up going for a Black Rose Luke, but he triggers my Arriving Light. I draw into a Bestial, and then he just sets, or I can't remember what he does, but I draw a card, I draw into Baldrake, and then I can somewhat go from there. He has another Shifter, and I think because I have to go Baldrake, banish his Shifter, and then he shifters me again. I'm like, what the hell? So it's a bit weird. Well, I should be fine because I have Stardust and I have Baldrake, but I've already used up my Dispatter. So I was like, how the hell am I gonna do this? So that was really weird, but eventually it gets into a grind game, and there's a particular moment where I think things could have played out differently, but that's hindsight, because he had 2 sets, and if I just went Chaos Angel on field, I had a Stardust Engrave, right? And if I would have gone Stardust Effect, triggering my Chaos Angel, you would not have been able to drop the Bestial Magnemite. But the fact that I went Bestial first, and then he changed his own Bestial to my Stardust, I was like, oh my god, because it was the only light in either's graveyard. And I was like, oh my god. And then he had set Rivalry and a set Imperm, but I had Destruction, so I could play around the Rivalry. So he ended up losing that game. He just ended up drawing into his cards and he just OTK'd. He was like, oh, fair enough. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So let's get straight into the list. So first off, we have the Bestial package. Originally, I was only playing 1, but then the way the deck functions is if you open up this in Stardust, you need to be able to search one off of Wills, right? Because you go Wills, Brotor, search Bestial, whether it be light or dark. Most of the time you search Lebellion, because then that's how you bridge into your Bestial stuff and you get access to your Regain and your Beast. So that's why I play, because all you need is 1 to banish and 1 to search. But then I increased the card count because of the non-engine, so I ended up just bumping this up all the way up to 3. Just for the simple fact that I want to see it. You want to see this in Stardust? It's just amazing. And then of course you have this, I guess the second best one. Well, not the second best one, but like it just helps you for consistency. It gets the Reek into the graveyard, it gets him to the graveyard. It's just really nice. It's something to pitch off Hugin, which is really nice. And then of course you play a Druid Swarm. You max this out as well, because you just want to see this and Stardust Synchron, right? That's all you want to see. This and Stardust Synchron, because that gets you your the spatter. And thanks to the runic cards, you play around Niv because you banish the top card of their deck. So that's the biggest thing I noticed with this particular version, is that typically the Stardust Bestial, the pure one, you can't do that because there's no way to banish their cards. So luckily the runics facilitate that here, which is really nice. And then of course you have your Magnemite and your Baldrake. There's no need to max out this one. Like, it's okay. It's just like a niche one you can search. But you still want to play it. It's just a bit of versatility, which is really nice. More interaction. And then you have your Stardust cards. You have your Stardust Synchron's. And then, of course, the bricks. These are like, they're so bad, but they're so good because they get everything. They tie everything together, right? So this searches the Ripening Lights, and it searches your Illumination. You don't typically play this, but there was a few times where I would open up Stardust and Bestials, and I'm like, wow, I can't really do much if this is my only option. And that's what this is for. This just dumps the Stardust, banish this special, Reborn Stardust, and then have a Bestial as well. You have multiple Bestials, so you can end up on multiple level 10 Synchros. But the way this was working was a lot better because I ended up going into a lot of grind games, and I would have this as follow-up, right? Because there would be times where I hard open this so I can search this, or I would have multiples of this, because within the combo, one of the combos, you return the Stardust to the graveyard. So then you have another thing to search, and by then you have an SMSD on the field. So you can search this, and then that means you can summon a Stardust from the deck, which is really huge, because I was like, oh wow, this is insane, because then you would make a Chaos Angel, or you make a Changing. I was like, wow, this has actually performed a lot better than I expected, because you can summon him from the deck because you control Synchro Dimensions or Dragon. So yeah, but the primary reason was just so I can get a light to the graveyard. This little guy bridges you to your Bestials, typically targeting Wills, or sometimes you target itself, or even the Spider. And then of course you have your tunings. This card is amazing because you mill Runics, you mill Bestials, mill Lights or Darks, mill Stardust sometimes. It's pretty good. Milling Sarnier, that's always good. And then you have your runic stuff, right? You have, of course, your Double Fountain, your Triple Tip, Triple Slumber. This is like the best one going first for sure, apart from this one, because you need to find a way to trigger Fountain, which is huge. And Triple Flashing, Triple Freezing, and then of course, Triple Destruction. Thank you, Brennan. Lend me the third one. I couldn't find the third one. Lend me. That's very nice. These are the only ones you play. You could play some of the bad ones, but I didn't feel necessary because I'm not really focusing on the runics to get me there. I more so want the Bestials to get me there. I want the Stardust to pair with these so I can get access to the Spatter, right? And this just facilitates the Spatter being able to negate Nibiru. One of the most devastating hand tricks for this deck. Of course, you can get by sometimes if you have your runic stuff going, but for the most part, you want to ensure that you can stop Nibiru or stop Ash. But it's good like as a backup engine for sure. Like that's the way I viewed it when I was playing it. I was like, this is cool. It's cool the fact that you have stuff going second. You can pop up a card, negate an effect. But primarily, I want to just ensure that these allowed this and Stardust to resolve, basically. Then of course you have your Regain and your Beast. Bestial builds don't play this because it feels too slow. But I feel it does suck when you draw it like it does. Honestly, it does. Going second, it allows you to crack boards a little bit more easier because you have so many ways to interact with the boards, and the way the deck's built is you have so many board breakers. So being able to go Lubellion, they go effect, that's fine. What are you gonna place Regain? No, like Beast. And you can pop a back row, pop a monster, and sometimes you can even pop your own seals to get to the Wheels Dragon, because you can summon the wheels off of seals. I was doing that a fair bit. I was either summoning Brotor or summoning wheels off of seals. It's pretty crazy. And then, so that's 40, right? That's 40, all engine and stuff. And then we have the 10 non-engine, which brings the deck count to 50. So you play Cult Bite, same purpose as the runic cards. It enables the Spatter to negate monster effect. You have your talents, Triple Droplet, and of course, Evenly Matched. This one seems a bit odd because you're like, oh, you'll get a battle phase. But with Runic, it's kind of weird, right? Because like, you can't play hand traps because there's not one hand trap that helps you, right? So you need these type of blowout cards to deal with the actual board. So being able to just draw into this in main phase 1, battle phase, clear everything, right? Especially since you have droplets and you have this. So like destruction, you can freezing in battle phase, you can flashing, and then it'll just push this through and just clear the board. instead of having to draw like an Ash, Imper, and Veiler all together. So you need 3 cards to deal with the board when you can just play like this and this, or this and any of the Runics. So that's because that's a bit more consistent in regards to breaking the board compared to preventing the board. So it just seemed like right. Of course, there is some issues, right? Because you can't use this turn 3, which is kind of annoying. But by then you're playing anyways. So it's not the worst. And you're discarding a card off Hugin anyway, so it's that X discard, just fodder. But there are some times where I was like, okay, I had to skip my battle phase, so can't really use this. But it's more so when you go second, right? You want to be able to just have that blowout card. And right now, there's no Baron, so that works out quite well. Yesterday, they didn't perform as well as I thought. Like, these weren't that great, actually. These 9 were a bit odd. I don't know. In theory, when we were testing them, they were fine. But on the day, especially because I went up against a lot of Rogue, it was a bit different. Because I wanted to go in Snake Eye and stuff, like Snake Eye, Voiceless Voice. Because it's like, you just do this on Voiceless Voice and you only them, and like what they do then, like then you just tactics. I don't know, but for sure this one you have to play for sure. But these 9, I'm not sure. Still debatable. You can just not play these and then just play the deck as it is. But then you just lose to Voiceless though, because Voiceless all of your stuff targets. So like, how do you beat that matchup? And that's where these come in. So I don't know. Maybe we'll just like off day, but like they were okay. And then you have your side deck. You can have your side deck as you please. It's just something I was like, oh, this seems okay. Cosmic, back row, because it's just board breakers, more board breakers. And whenever I go first, I put these in, right? Against Snake Eye, against Voiceless, against any fusion deck, just put these in going first. Because against Tenpai as well, sometimes you build your board and you negate, and then, or they I don't know, they drop blitz you, or they do something to your board, they crack your board, and your stuff gets negated, then you just flip this and you just win. Because they can't synchro either. I mean, they can go for a Seals line, but by then it's not enough. Seals not enough. And then of course Snake Eye versus this, and then just like a floodgate, basically shifter in a way. And then for the tokens, you just have tokens. Tokens is not cool. For the Nibiru token, and then you have your extra deck. I'm missing an SP. I was borrowing one. Thank you, Yatin. Thank you, Brendan. Then you have your Crimson, your double SMSD. You have your Dispatter, Chaos Angel, Changying. Thank you, Alex. Birdie Rose, Coral. This guy's kind of weird. This is a theory from Donex and Edward. They were testing this deck, and this was like perfect. This is like so perfect, because this is where when you open up a Runic and a Stardust, that means it's full combo, because you need a 6 to get to a 10, right? Because that's how you climb with 6s and 4s. So the way it goes is you activate any Runic, right? Any Runic, summon Stardust, affect Stardust, search Arriving Light. You make this, Stardust is in graveyard, right? And then you tribute this, and his effect is, if this card is tributed, you can summon stuff back, right? So then you go into Ruddy Rose. You go into Ruddy Rose, and Arriving Light triggers whenever you or your opponent synchro summons. But Wills requires you to have a level 8 or higher Dragon Synchro to get its full effect. So that's why it's there. It's the only reason, because it's just more consistency. And of course you have Seals, and of course, as I mentioned, you're missing SP. SP is very important for this deck, because you don't get a battle phase. And that's really annoying, because that means you let them keep stuff. So that's why you need a lot of board breakers or pick boards apart. So you have Chaos Angel, you have Changying, you have Coral, and then SP kind of ties it all together to spot removal again. Because you can spot remove twice. So typically what you do sometimes is you go into Chaos Angel first, spot removal, and then SP spot removal. Because you can't let them accumulate all their resources, because then it'll be a bit difficult for your SMS to handle, right? Because they get overwhelmed. They can have an imperm that they're not using, because they know that you're not going to kill them, so they just don't do anything. So they save it for their turn type of stuff. And then of course you have your fusions. You have your double Hugin and your Gary. You don't need any more than this. It's just enough. It's just enough. But that's the list. It's a lot of fun. Only changes might be just the non-engine. Just try it out for yourself, see what you might change. But it's pretty cool in the sense of how you can bait your opponent into negating stuff. Because what you really want to resolve is this search and Arriving Light resolving. Because by the time you get to that point, then you're guaranteed to have an SMSD guaranteed. That's what's really, really nice. And then you can insulate thanks to the Spatter, because you can just use the Runics to banish the top of cards over the deck, which is really nice. I'm going to show you guys the basic combo and the way I ended up deciding on how to do it, because it's basically Stardust Bistio. So basically what you want to do is pair your Bistio with Stardust, right? This will search your Arriving Light. But remember, with just these two, you don't get the spatter negate, which is where the runics come in, right? Of course, you can do the line with these guys because you climb with the 6s, right? So it's still possible. But I want to show you guys just basically the other one, right? Because like this will change the way you can initiate your turn, right? Whether you go for the bait with Hugin, the Imprim there, the Ash there, the Veda there, right? Because you typically want to do some of the stuff in main phase 1 because you play tactics. Or if you're playing around draw, then I guess you can do it during draw phase. But for the most part, every single time I was doing it, was doing the main phase because I had tactics, but it just wasn't hitting. So it's kind of annoying. But anyways, you typically bait with cards like this, like Fountain, Hugin, right? And then you go, it's fine. Then I just summon a Bestial, right? Any of the Bestials, summon, search for Revenant Light, and then you get things going. Because it's only one Ash, right? There's only one Ash. And Ash is like the most devastating one. When they can Ash your wills. If you can't progress, you can't summon it out of your hand. So it's a bit weird because then you can't bridge into your other stuff because you can't get Brotar. So you typically want them to stop this. But even if it don't stop this, it benefits you too. Because you just draw 3 more cards. So you won't do your combo. But you can end on a level 10 Synchro, whether it be Changing, most likely Changing, or the Spatter with like Runics, right? So it's not even that bad. But what you really want to resolve is him searching Revenant Light. This route, I prefer this route because it insulates your boards a bit better. So like best one to open for sure is like these 3 for sure. That's the coolest thing because then you banish top card of your deck and you know that this Spatter's live. So for example, let's say you open up with Lubellion, right? This is why you play at more than one because you can't banish it, right? So you go effect Lubellion, search your Magnemite, activate Magnemite, banishing your Lubellion effects, then you summon Stardust, click Stardust. And remember, you have 3 other cards. You can activate or Revenant Light. Get your wills, synchro these 2 into the Spatter, trigger Revenant Light, draw wills, trigger wills, summon Brotar. And this is where you use the effect. We already use Lubellion. So you could search it here, but then that means you would have to have had another Bestial, right? Otherwise it wouldn't work. So in this case, we'd search another Bestial. So we'd target either or, discard a random card, and this is where you get Sarnier, right? Because that gets you access to your Lubellion. The only issue with this though, is when you hard open this, is that you can't get both the spells and traps. That's the only issue, which would depend on your hand majority of the time. It's not like a 1-card combo deck, it's more so having cards synergize together, and then you work off of that. So then now, you activate Sarnier, banishing your Magnemite. So you can do some pretty cool things here, because you can go into seals, tribute the seals, you get access to your guy, right? So we're gonna go ahead and do that. That means assuming you want to burn your seals, so most of the time you're gonna want to go for your double SMSD. So you can do it that way by doing that like that. But first and foremost, you just do this. Go and do your first Omni, right? And then these 2 turn into your seals, and then your Sarnier will then dump your second Lubellion, and then you use the effect of Stardust Synchron, tributing seals. Then seals will trigger. At this point, it doesn't really matter which one you summon. I guess you can summon Sarnier because we would rather draw into Druises, right? And then now that you have your second Lubellion in the graveyard, you can tribute this, place this, and then activate effect. So you can place Beast. So now you have the option to go for Beast or Regain, right? So it's very dependent on the matchup. But for the most part, you would typically end on both, assuming you had another Bestial, right? But in this case, if you go for Regain, that means you can revive the Spatter later, right? Or you go for Beast, and then this is where you get your Crimson, right? And then Crimson target this, and you have double SMSD, right? And you have 2 cards left, and that's only just with those 2 cards, right? Which is pretty cool. Because let's say you went second, you were to like, open up your board breakers or something, and then evenly them, and then it's a very minimal sequence. It's not like a high sequence where you can do so many things, just like okay, open that, and it's just very interactive in that way. And then you just snowball from there, right? And then you just start playing with your Runics, draw more Bestials, and then you can banish seals, return it with Regain, make a seals again, and then get things going that way. So it's a really cool thing you can do, but that's just basically just, with just these 2, right? That's why I ended up going this route. And now I'll show you guys the Runic aspect, right? Because Synchron cannot just pair with Bestials. They have to pair with the other half as well. So that's the cool thing about this guy. It pairs with these or the Bestials. But this one's a bit more vulnerable to hand traps though, because you don't get to the Spatter very early on. You have to go through Ruddy Rose, and it's not which is why I ended up maxing out the Bestials, because I want to see that instead of this. But regardless, there's still consistency. You can still get it through this. So this is basically Stardust and any of the runics, right? Depending on how many runics you open, you do a particular one. If you open up with double, then you can do the Coraline, right? Or you can do the Altergeist guy. If you do the Altergeist one, it means you only opened up one runic. And if you open up multiple, then that means you open up 2 runics. So that's when you go for the Coraline. So I'll just show you guys this one first. So first one, right? Activate Flashing Fire, summon Hugin. Right here, you can try to bait for a hand trap, right? You pitch a card, search for Fountain, and they interact with you there. It's fine, you don't mind that at all. Yeah. Or they just wait for the Fountain draw, which is why Slumber is so important, because you force an Ash that way, because they're not going to want to let you draw 2. So the Ash the Fountain, okay, it's fine. Then you summon this, right? So Fountain's there, Ash you there. Summon this, search for Arriving Light, and these 2 synchro into your Altergeist guy. And then you go Effective Stardust, tribute this guy. And then he triggers, comes back. This is the only reason you play it. This is the only reason. And then you activate Arriving Light. You synchro, this gets banished. You go into your Ready Rose, because it's a level 10 Dragon Synchro. So trigger Arriving Light, trigger this, reveal, special, this, target this, add Lubellion. And this is the cool thing about this particular line, is that you can end on both Regain and Beast. So then now, you go into SMSD, effective this, search Sornier, activate Sornier, banish Wheels, activate Lubellion, Sornio sends, activate Lubellion, set Beast, and then end phase, you do this. So if you noticed, you only end on 1 because you had to use your Stardust early, right? So that's the only issue with the consistency of opening up just a runic and Stardust, which is where the second runic comes into play, right? Because the second runic allows you to save this and preserve this to then tribute this and then still end on both dragons while ending on your 2 spells and traps, which is really nice. So now this is where you open up Stardust and double runic, right? It doesn't matter which one it is, as long as it's 2 runics. This allows you to do the whole board with Regain, Beast, and double SMSD. So remember, it doesn't matter which one. Preferably, you would want to have these 2 opening, because like the preferred ones. Let's just say you open up these 2, right? So you have 5 cards. So you activate this, go Hugin. You can bait if you want. You just try to, it's like they don't want you to get to Fountain, because either way, like, then they're gonna be deciding whether to ask Fountain or Ash this. But by that time, you already have Fountain. So it's like add Fountain, right? Activate Fountain. Then you summon this, add Arrive, and this is where you go Coral, right? You go this Coral Dragon. You activate Destruction, summon Gary. You don't get Gary's effect, but it's fine. Trigger Fountain here, whether ask you there. They would have asked you on the Hugin, or they interact with Hugin, or they interact you here now, which is perfectly fine, because you still have the main objective to resolve. So whether they ask here, they ask not, doesn't matter. And then you activate Arriving Light, place your Wills, and then now you go into Ready, right? So right here, typically we use Arriving Light to draw. In this case, we have Coral to draw, so we'll save that one, because otherwise it'll make Wheels miss timing. So you trigger Coral, reveal, special, and effect, target this, discard the last card in your hand, then Lubellion. It's very hand depleting, but that's where the Fountain comes into play, right? Like let's say they didn't ask you, right? And you replenish your hands that way. And then you draw 2 more cards on their turn anyways, which is really nice. But then before we do that, we're going to SMSD, activate this, go Sarnier, activate Sarnier, banish Wills, special, activate Lubellion, trigger Sarnier, sending Regain, activate Lubellion, place Beast. You then activate Stardust Synchron, shooting your Brotar, banish, go into Crimson, target this, go into your second one. And then end phase, you place your Regained, and that's your turn. So you depleted your entire hand, right? But it's more so the fact that you don't have to rely on so much engine, where you have like a lot of interactive cards that could pick boards apart and simplify the game state, and then eventually turn into a grind game and then get to this point, right? That's the cool thing about that. It's one of the aspects of the deck. Or just do this combo and it's just insane, right? Because for one, if they summon anything, right, you just reborn this guy. You have a pop. This can send something their turn. You can banish a card, because this will banish something, right? And you can probably draw a card. Doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes you draw runics, which is quite cool. But for the most part, what happens when you open up with Bestials and access to runics just makes your board a lot better, because that means you have access to the spatter and then you can revive this Spada with Regained. But this is just like most minimalistic one Runic and Stardust, or 2 Runics and Stardust, or Bystial and Stardust, you know? It's just 2 3-card combos. But that's basically the deck. Go ahead and try it out. It's a lot of fun. Different for sure. It'll take you a while to get used to if you haven't played Runic, because it took me a while to get used to, because I'm not used to not having a battle phase. It feels kind of weird, right? Which is why I feel like Beast is so important, which is why SP is so important, which is why Chaos Angel is so important, because you need to be able to pick their boards apart after you didn't get a battle phase, right? Because they're just going to accumulate their stuff, and that's a lot of resources to deal with when you just have double Omni and like Pop. Sometimes it's enough because you have access to like Runic spells, but then you prolong. I guess it's an inevitable impending doom, I guess. But it just feels a bit uneasy. You're on edge sometimes, like, oh damn, he has like 2-card set. I could have gone Chaos Angel Sand. It just gets to just get rid of their stuff. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.